What up? This is Josh Rubin from East West Healing and Performance, and today I want to talk about some of the benefits of vitamin E, tocopherols. Now, vitamin E is a complex of actually 8 different chemicals. 4 of them are actually called tocopherols, which are alpha, beta, gamma, and delta. And the other 4 are called, I can never pronounce this, tocotrienols, which is alpha, beta, gamma, and delta. Alpha tocopherol is actually the most potent of the 8. Now, when I talk about vitamin E, I'm not talking about so much getting it from a supplement. Now, I'll talk about this towards the end, and a lot of this information is directly from our Metabolic Blueprint program, and I'll put the link right below in the description of the videos, or the video itself. What I want to talk about, what are some of the benefits of vitamin E and actually how this can help us. This aligns with our philosophy because we're always talking about estrogen, we're always talking about unsaturated fats, and they have a huge correlation with vitamin E. Because estrogen itself, and I've talked about this before in many videos, actually pulls nutrients and oxygen away from our cells, away from our tissues, away from embryo, especially at the 8th to 12th week of implantation. So it can actually cause a hypoxic environment. Estrogen decreases how our cells use oxygen efficiently. Now, a great thing about vitamin E is it's an antioxidant because it actually reduces free radical damage not only from unsaturated fats, but actually allows our cells to use oxygen more efficiently, so it doesn't create that hypoxic environment, and actually has the opposite effect as estrogen. So at the 8th to 10th week, when oxygen is really needed by the embryo, when it's going to actually implant, estrogen can actually impair this, and actually impair the development as well as the implantation of the embryo, because it decreases oxygen supply to the embryo itself when it wants to become a fetus. Well, vitamin E can actually increase this. And at the same time, unsaturated fats, when they enter our cells, they actually pull vitamin E from our tissues, from our blood, from everywhere in the body. And actually, in a sense, unsaturated fats make us deficient in vitamin E. So maybe your vitamin E deficiency is more because of your diet and unsaturated fats. Now, I just want to read something kind of going back to the cell, because I've talked about this before, and how dangerous unsaturated fats are when it comes to our gut, when it comes to our thyroid, when it comes to cell metabolism. And I've talked about how, Ray P talks about how ultraviolet lights actually interact in a violent way with unsaturated fats in our tissues, in our skin, in our blood, etc., as well at the cell level. Now, healthy cells are actually usually lipophilic. So saturated fats, typically, would have a greater tendency to enter the cell more than the water-soluble PUFAs. As cells become more stressed, they actually take up water, they take up calcium, which increases the conversion of glycogen into lactic acid, which produces inflammation, as well as causes calcification of the energy-producing parts of the cell, which is the mitochondria. So internally, we're getting calcification of the mitochondria. Kind of externally, in a sense, we're getting calcification of our collagen, our tissues, and our arteries. Unsaturated fats are actually able to enter the cell more easily, which slows oxidative metabolism and creates free radical damage. Now, the point in that is vitamin E actually protects against this free radical damage. And of course, there's many things like saturated fats, reducing stress, etc. But vitamin E can actually protect against this free radical damage. So some of the benefits of vitamin E, it's actually an antioxidant. An antioxidant is something that allows our body to use oxygen more efficiently at the cell level for energy production. So we can say that coconut oil, vitamin E, vitamin A, because it's a precursor to progesterone and it's anti-estrogenic. Things like aspirin, caffeine. These are all antioxidants. The foods we eat that are digestible to our body when it comes to proteins, carbs, and fats. These are antioxidants. We could say that unsaturated fats are pro-oxidative. So instead of taking your supplements, why don't you eat foods or live a lifestyle that provides your body with the necessary antioxidants so you don't have to take them? Now, of course, your body produces a lot of antioxidants like cholesterol and glutathione, etc. And if we eat the right foods and we regulate cell metabolism to upregulate the GI system, the immune system, the liver, detoxification, etc., we can actually produce our own antioxidants from the nutrients we're taking in. We don't have to take these crappy pills. Vitamin E actually improves circulation and oxygenation because it's actually anti-estrogenic, which does the opposite. It improves mitochondrial respiration, therefore improving energy production at the cell level, which is the conductor of everything in your body. It protects against lipid peroxidation in the body. how we liberate free fatty acids from our tissues, which I talked about, as well as P.J. Randall's talked about, Broda Barnes, Dr. Ray Peat, etc. How free fatty acids can actually lead to diabetes, blood sugar handling issues, hypothyroidism, etc. So vitamin E is very protective against that. Now, of course, eating the right foods and the right ratios, maybe using supplements like niacinamide, looking at your exercise, how much you're exercising, your volume, your frequency, all these things can inhibit lipolysis. But vitamin E, as well as niacinamide, actually inhibit lipolysis. Vitamin E itself has been shown actually in the body when we decrease the amount of unsaturated fats we're taking in, because we can actually produce these in our body. We can actually produce from sugars omega-9 unsaturated fats. Vitamin E actually increases the conversion of linoleic acid into saturated fats, which is very protective at the cell level and the superficial level. As I mentioned, vitamin E actually opposes all the actions of estrogen in the body, and it's actually progesterone sparing, and it decreases a lot of the pro-inflammatory prostaglandins in the body, which in a sense inhibit cell metabolism and can lead to inflammation. It helps reduce oxidation of lipid membranes. It has an anti-clotting effect. Once again, it's actually anti-estrogenic. It can lower intracellular calcium. Unsaturated fats, inflammation, any stress, darkness, melatonin causes our cells to swell, take up water, hold on to estrogen, hold on to calcium. You know, your body loses vitamin E. Saturated fats kind of move their way out. Unsaturated fats move their way in. So we get this kind of swelling of the cell. This causes our cells to kind of hold on to calcium, which increases glycolytic conversion into lactic acid, which is inflammatory. So that calcification actually starts in the mitochondria, which is our energy-producing parts of the cell. So now we're not going to be producing energy, and we get calcification, which can actually kind of, spiral out of control to the arteries and the tissues in the body, leading to atherosclerosis, other heart diseases, high cholesterol, etc. So it actually lowers intracellular calcium. It actually spares vitamin A. Vitamin E actually allows vitamin A to actually be used more efficiently. And I'll put the YouTube that I did on vitamin A in the description down below. But vitamin A is a precursor. It's used in the cell, but it's a precursor to progesterone, so it's actually anti-estrogenic. Vitamin E actually protects against hypercalcemia, which can have a profound effect on parathyroid hormone and prolactin. It can actually, through all this, assist in regulating blood sugar, so of course can actually help in regards to cell energy production, hypothyroidism, and things like that. It can actually protect the skin from UV exposure from sunlight coming in contact with PUFAs, because it can actually reduce the free radical damage that's going on between unsaturated fats and direct sunlight. It actually increases the effectiveness of white blood cells through this process as well, because most ultraviolet light penetrates the skin to the blood level. In the blood, you have white blood cells, so it's very immunosuppressive in a sense. Where vitamin E actually, when it's used in the body and it's there, in the right type of light, gets to the cell level, there's certain enzymes, like we've talked about in some of our blogs, which I'll put the link for that below. Part of your cell is actually dependent on light. There's an enzyme, chromochrome oxidase, which is dependent on light for cellular respiration. And vitamin E plays a large role in upregulating this process, which meaning it actually plays a role in downregulating the immunosuppressiveness of unsaturated fats, estrogen, and their interaction with ultraviolet light. So when it comes to vitamin E, of course there's much more to it. The bottom line is this. We need these things in our body. Everyone's getting these labs done. I'm vitamin E deficient. I need to take vitamin E. But what if your vitamin E deficiency is because you're progesterone deficient, you're estrogen dominant, or you're eating a diet high in unsaturated fats, which actually lowers vitamin E. So you're creating the illusion that you're actually vitamin E deficient, when in a sense it's because your diet's high in unsaturated fats. And vitamin E, if we simplify it, does many things, but it opposes estrogen and unsaturated fats, meaning it allows our body to use oxygen more efficiently at the cell level to produce energy, which is ATP, which in a sense, vitamin E is an antioxidant. Now, of course, you can get it from many places. You can get it in small amounts in olive oil. You can get it in large amounts in certain types of dairy. You can get it in small amounts in blackberries and blueberries. It's found in small amounts in butternut squash, pumpkin, certain squashes. Now, when it comes to vitamin E, sometimes we do have people supplement with vitamin E if we feel it's needed. Now, I have to say 9 times out of 10, we probably don't. But if you do, we find the best way to supplement with it is not ingesting it, is actually finding a clean vitamin E pill or capsule that's a liquid that you can pop open and rub on your skin. Now, I'm not going to tell you how much, but you can, find the soft areas of your skin, the thin areas of your skin, your forearms, your calves, inside of your legs, things like that, your stomach, and you can rub it on that way. You just want to make sure there's no soy products in it. Of course, the other way is if you do and you are female and you want to use Ray Peat's Progesterone E, that's another way to get vitamin E. But at the same time, we find if people actually use it and they don't have a strong nutritional foundation, they don't need the Progest, it can actually have a negative effect on their body. So be very careful if you're going to use it and try to get vitamin E that way. Another great way to use it is in powder form. There's certain companies online that you can actually buy it from. One of them is Beyond a Century, and they actually sell it in powder form, and that's probably the go-to if we're actually going to use it. But the bottom line is this. If you are vitamin E deficient, create that strong nutritional foundation first. Because if you're estrogen dominant, you're not detoxifying estrogen, you're progesterone deficient, your diet's high in PUFAs, unsaturated fats, you're going to waste vitamin E, which is going to give you the illusion that you're actually vitamin E deficient. Where if you start eating the right digestible foods that have vitamin E, you look at your food frequency, you look at the ratios of macronutrients you're taking in at each meal and at the end of the day, you eliminate unsaturated fats, you eat foods that are antioxidant in a sense to the body, allow our body to use oxygen more efficiently to produce energy, then in a sense you're indirectly going to increase vitamin E levels so you don't need to take vitamin E. So hopefully you enjoyed this quick YouTube. I did, and I'm out of here.